Welcome into another episode of Preacher in the Hat. My name is Eric. Last week, which was for us, getting in the habit of saying this, but last week for you, a couple minutes ago for us, we ended up talking a little bit about passion, and especially as it related to sports. We kind of ended on a note that brought a question to my mind. So if you haven't seen that episode, please feel free to go back and watch. You're also welcome to start watching with us right now. Who cares? What should we be passionate about? There's all these things that we are passionate about or have been passionate about. Sports, especially, that kind of thing. Team-based stuff, that sort of thing. Now, what should we show that same level of passion about? How much is it harder to show passion about something that's not competitive? Why is it so easy to show passion about something competitive?
Well, you said something in that last episode about you don't like to do things that you don't have some effect on it. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I want to shift my passion towards. Yeah.
Shift, because I think for some of us, it might be easier to be passionate about something where it doesn't depend on us. You know what I mean? Like, you know, we're hard on others, but we're kind of easier on ourselves.
I can take all the credit and I can place the blame somewhere else. I mean, if it
most of us don't say, come on, you can do that husband thing. Come on, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, like, man, you fumbled the football, bro. You know what I'm saying? And so I think, like, for me, when I see people, even when I did it in my own life, when I would watch sports or whatever, and I would see people be just mean-spirited and just super, like, out of their mind, it was like you have no connection to that. I mean, you have a false connection to that, I think, maybe. You know what I mean? Like, it's not you there's nothing you did. You didn't put any time in. You did whatever. And yet you're just sort of out. Maybe it's because you can't, maybe the passion comes from you really don't have anything to do with the outcome. I don't know. It seems almost backwards. Like, if you had a lot of energy that you put into something, if you had a lot of time that you put into something, you'd think you would be passionate about that. But we're passionate oftentimes about things we've absolutely done nothing. We went over there. I was about to say we went over there. We don't go over anymore and turn the TV on. But I go over there. That's way back. But you turn the TV on, find the app, and that's basically maybe you've ordered some wings from Jefferson's. I don't know. You know, your wife probably did. Whatever. But you have you don't have a dog in the fight. Zero dog in the fight. But you think you do. But man, the things. This is a great question. You got my mind going about the things that we should, you know. But I think it's hard for us. Maybe we're too self-aware about how we're not great at those things that we probably should be passionate about. Maybe, you know what I mean. And then it's kind of like hard because we have to, like, have that moment of honesty. You know, like, oh, poop.
Exactly.
Oh no!
You knew I was going to play into that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't. That might have been too deep for some of y'all, you know. But it's just
you are being pretty deep tonight.
Yeah,
I noticed it.
Yeah, I mean,
pretty good.
It's, for me, I think it's easy for me to be passionate about something that has, like, no bearing on my life, but, like, it doesn't have to be. It's not a consequence. It's like
like I was saying, you can always place the blame wherever you need to place it. If it's about your favorite football team, you can get excited. You know, they win, you can get excited. You can, you know, puff out your chest. And if they lose, you can blame whatever it is you need to blame, and it's not on you.
It's just washing your hands. Do you remember the night we went to the concert?
That Creed concert?
The Creed concert, yeah. And the kid that was a little bit too passionate sitting behind me.
Yes.
He could not find a way to understand how I could be so unexcited about it. You know, like it couldn't fathom it. Like, I don't understand what's happening right now. And he spent about 2.5 hours like really trying to walk through that. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, I don't know what to tell you, bro. But yet we get like that. Like we have been at those places, and I remember screaming at TVs before, you know, where it's like, I don't know, got no dog in the fight, and there I am. Mm-hmm. And yet there's probably 20 other things that, you know, God would rather me, you know.
I wonder sometimes we have to, like you were saying, Eric, you made a deliberate sign of decision to become passionate about things you can participate in. And I wonder sometimes, Chris, if it doesn't happen because we aren't intentional about channeling our passion to the things that really do matter. You know what I'm saying? So I think sometimes we find ourselves hollering at TVs because we have not channeled our passion in any other direction. And so passion is an important part of who a human is, and it's very motivating for people. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that passion motivates people to buy tickets, to travel inordinate amount of times to go to miles to go to a game, or to do this, to do that. And so it's like to some degree we've made some kind of channel. I'm going to channel my passion in this, but I'm not going to channel my passion over here. Now, I don't think it's quite that clear to us a lot of times. I don't think we're that conscious of that decision, but I think it is a decision we probably make, and sometimes we have to be checked about that to say, you know, am I really channeling the passion? I don't think you can live all of life with just this intense thing. You know, I mean, that's not life either.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If that's what passion is to you. But passionate doesn't necessarily mean loud, but I think passion sometimes is best demonstrated by what I'm doing. I do what I'm most passionate about.
Right.
And sometimes I have to intentionally make a decision. I'm going to be impassionate and channel my passion into that area, into that arena. My time, my energy, my money. To me, when I invest time, energy, and money, you know, into something, I'm demonstrating passion for it.
Yeah.
I think it can look super off kilter too, because when you're talking about competitive passion with sports or being a fan of sports, competitive passion is extremely loud, right? If you're at a stadium and you're going crazy. And so that actually, you've heard plenty of people over the years talk about being bothered by that, especially Christians. It's like, well, we're willing to give that kind of passion about football, but not, you know, XYZ. And it's a little it's a little different in that sense that, like, rooting passion is, I don't know, it's like I said, it's so loud, it's way out there that it can make me feel like sometimes that I've never shown that level of passion for Jesus. And that's incorrect. If I search myself and things I've gone through and you know, moments I've been in, that is not true at all. Have I screamed as loud? Like, maybe not. It's like, but that's just like a different environmental factor.
Right.
And so I think it can look extremely off kilter just because it's like, it's two totally different kinds of like responses to that sort of thing.
But
too.
I watched you, Eric, when you were 16 years old, demonstrate passion for the things of God.
That's what I'm saying.
In a way that was not loud but firm. Is the one time when you were playing American Legion ball on a summer, and y'all were playing a tournament in Tuscaloosa, and there was no game scheduled for Sunday morning, and you've been on a worship team by that time several years, and I was. There was talk that because of rain delays and so forth earlier in the weekend, the game was going to be played Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. And you said clearly, at a 16-year-old, you said it out loud to anybody to hear, including
As for me in my house.
Well, that ain't how he said it. What he said was, I play drums on Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. I don't play baseball. I'm not playing. It startled me because as a father, I actually would have been willing for you to have played that game instead of going to be on the worship team, but you demonstrated your passion for what you were doing in the kingdom
Right.
that morning. That was really an example to me.
And that-
Everybody give it up.
and
No,
so
I'm
that's
just
what,
serious. I
I'm
mean,
all
it happened
16.
spontaneously.
and that's what I'm saying is like that's the same level
It is.
as screen. And so we kind of like try to compare the two and
I
say,
agree.
well, I've never, or you never show that level, whatever. And it's not really. It's not really true. I also did hate that summer of baseball, so that probably did help
That
just
helped
a little bit.
That helped. You didn't like your coach or the
Not like that guy.
summer. I know you did.
Well,
not.
I shouldn't say I didn't like the.
You didn't like his style of coaching.
I did not like his style of coaching.
that's
Nor did
okay, though.
anyone. Nor did anyone else. But
But you know what I was thinking about? You were talking about competitive. Let's go to the thing about church or kingdom work. In Colossians it says that we've been transferred from the kingdom of darkness into the kingdom of His Son. To some degree, Eric and Chris, my view is that my passion is that we are in war to some extent. My passion has not been to build a church. My passion has been to build the kingdom. Mm-hmm. And so immediately that puts me in competition or puts my passion in competition with those that are building the kingdom of darkness. You know what I'm saying? So in that sense, there is that push and pull, that competition too. My passion does not come out by being loud, like you said, or talking about war a lot, Eric, but I am constantly viewing it like that. And I say, look, the enemy's doing this, the enemy's doing that. What does Jesus want to do? That's my passion, is to say I want to experience Jesus in a way that builds the kingdom. But not necessarily if my passion was to build a big church and my passion was to do all that, then I'd be in competition with other churches. If my passion is to build the kingdom and to be a part of the kingdom and I'm passionate about that, then I'm not in competition with other people who are doing the same. You see what I'm saying? We're actually joined forces to do it together. So what I'm passionate about matters because not only does it decide what team I'm going to be on, but it also helps me decide who my enemy really is. And my enemy is not the other churches. My enemy is not the other people who are building a church better than I am, because that's not my passion. My passion is to build the kingdom. And that helps me stay focused on who the enemy is. And the enemy is the other team, not the people, but it's the other team.
Well, you used a word there that I've heard you use it just recently, and the word experience.
Yeah.
I can't remember when I first heard you say it, but it was when we've had some of our talks about, I'm wondering if maybe a lot of us have gone to church, but we really have not experienced Jesus.
I think that's true.
And so I'm going to take the other view, Eric, that I think you were pretty much wrong when you said that tonight. And I appreciate you and love you. But I do think, because when I see us, and I'm saying that a little tongue in cheek, but when I see some of the things that we do in our culture, and I'm saying me, and what I've done and the amount of money that I've spent to do some of the things that I've loved to do and whatever. And, I don't know that I've seen in my own life that same passion, you know what I mean? To like do those things. Maybe it's an experience thing, Jesus, what He's done for you, but like I've seen people who have what I consider to be, they're very passionate, and I'm not talking about just charismatic. I'm talking about they really seem to be in love with Christ and in the kingdom.
Yeah,
I think those are the people that have experienced Him. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of us that have gone to church and are believers, but we haven't really had a lot of time of experiencing Him. Like the scriptures say, taste and see.
Yeah, right.
And I don't know that we've tasted, and if we've seen Him, if we could continue to just,
Well, one of the things, I agree with that, because I decided recently that why was I going to prison? after 46 years. I'm not getting paid to go. It's nothing I have to do. Nobody's told me I had to. Well, I don't want to keep going back. And remember, I said, and I think I've even said it on the podcast, is because that's where I've seen Jesus do some really some really good work, and I see He's still doing it. I still want to be a part of that.
Right.
You know, not full time. I can't do it full time. I don't want to do it full time, but I still want to be a part of it because I have a passion for what I've seen Jesus do in the lives of men and women that a lot of other people said could never change. And I've seen it happen. It has happened. Have I seen a lot of failures? Yep. Have I seen a lot of people not follow through on experiencing Jesus? You know, that's true, I have. But I still have a passion for those people that do. And I think that that's what keeps me going back when it doesn't make sense otherwise.
Because nobody can argue with you about what you've experienced.
Not really.
You know what I mean?
They may have an opinion about a different opinion about than I do about what I experienced, but they can argue all day long. I know what I experienced.
Right.
I know what I experienced. When it's an experience, I know. When I read it out of a book, I don't know it. When I just hear that, but when I've experienced the work of Jesus in my life and in the lives of other people, and Eric, you've heard me say this over and over in our family. I tell people is if you like our family and what Jesus, you just remember, without Jesus, we'd be a mess. The Longeneckers would be a mess without Jesus. We would be. And that's a passion of mine, is that we continue to stay focused on Him as a family. You know, now these children are raising their own families, so that's up to them. But that is my passion for all of us, is that we would have that continued thing of experiencing Jesus in everyday life. Whether I'm working at Regions Bank or working in a prison or in construction or real estate or painting or working in a cafeteria, all of which I've done, you know, in food service and that kind of thing, or going to school.
Do you think it's dangerous to, like, when you see someone that looks like they have way more passion than you, could that be misguided?
Because how are you measuring that?
Yeah.
So it depends. That's kind of what I was getting at about earlier, about about how passion looks differently, and we try to measure them. We try to measure it against other things, or we try to measure two different kinds of things against each other. And so, yeah, what are you measuring from that person? What do you mean?
Yeah, I think when you like, you know, like if someone's talking to you and like the majority of the things that they have to say is kind of out the overflow of their heart of like more like spiritual things, you know what I mean? Like it's like almost like they can't help it, you know what I mean? Or you see them in church worshiping and you're like, and I'm not picking on me or anybody else, but like, you know, it's like, man, they look like they really are connecting to the throne right now. Like, you know what I mean? And I know it can look a lot of different ways. You know, sometimes I see females that seem to be way more expressive about their worship. And then guys sometimes have their hands in their pocket. As far be it for me to say one of them is like more, you know what I mean? More mature than the other. But it does, I don't know. I'm just wondering if passion can be measured in I guess that was what you're saying.
Yeah, I would say it's dangerous to try to say, not dangerous, but don't bother trying to understand, have I had that level of, because what you're watching
Right. Well, even so, what would you say to someone who says, look, I know that I'm not passionate enough about eternal things? What would you say? Preacher, tell me.
Well, something you could say is there's a difference between passion and expression. You know, expression is that way that I express my, you know, expression, the different kind of expressions.
Right.
And so just because there's different kind of expressions in worship does not mean that person has more passion than the other. It may be that they're more passionate about the way they're expressing it. You see what I'm saying? In that moment, you see what I'm saying? But then in another situation, like for example, I have a friend that goes with me to prison, Mr. Pugh. And one of the things I love about him is you can always, when the guys, when they know him, he worked 17 years in that prison. And he teaches the guys, when you say, how are you doing, to say wonderful. Now, you may think, well, that's just corny. You know, why everything's not wonderful. But you ought to hear him in class with these guys. When they see Mr. Pugh, they always say, we're doing wonderful, Mr. Pugh, and they have a big grin on their face.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he's taught them. Now, otherwise, in other settings, Mr. Pugh looks very, very calm, you see? But when he's in that situation, they'll say, how are you doing? He said, I'm doing wonderful, better than I deserve. And for some people, that sounds hollow, but it does not sound hollow with Mr. Pugh, because it's not hollow. He means it.
He's
I know,
authentic.
because I know him.
Right, right.
I know him, and I've seen him in different situations. So he expresses his passion by just expressing it to other people. So when he walks in that prison, he's a rock star with staff and everybody else because of the way he has lived out his passion to be positive with other people, to encourage the guys who are in prison in some pretty difficult situations. And he's just clockwork like that every Wednesday. But I know it's been real because of how people that knew him 10 years ago are still, Mr. Pugh, because he has a passion for showing them he enjoys their presence.
Right.
And so he exhibits it by saying, wonderful, how you doing? Have a good one.
Yeah.
He'll say it all. He has a passion for encouraging people, and it shows up in his conversation.
And he's not necessarily, I mean, I don't know him personally. I've heard you talk about him a few times. But it's not like he's flopping around like a fish. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
No.
Right.
No, I mean, he's very, very almost sophisticated in the way he does it.
Right.
But it's authentic.
Right.
It's an authenticity that I know comes out of real life for him.
But past the just how it manifests itself in our lives, passion. If you had someone that's like, man, I don't feel passionate. What would be your word to them? You know, like, is it an experience? You just have to experience. You have to taste and see, and that's what. I mean, that word is something that I've heard you using more and more.
Well, I think Jesus expressed it so much to us when he asked, what's the greatest commandment? This is passionate. Love the Lord God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And number 2, love your neighbor as you love yourself. And what he said, everything else, all the law and the prophets hang on those 2 commandments. Those were not new commandments. They had been commandments that were in the Old Covenant writings too.
Like, if you get that right, you got it right. You probably
He's
get the
saying,
others
be
right.
passionate about loving God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Be passionate about loving others as you love yourself.
Right.
How you express that might look different from person to person, but be passionate about that, because that's what matters. Or as I used to pray over our children and other children at a baby dedication, that they would grow up to be one who loved God with all their heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love others as they love themselves. And then I added these words, and everything else is gravy. Not be passionate that your children be educated.
Right.
Not passionate that your children would be successful. Not passionate your children would do this. Be passionate about that. And I think Jesus let us know what to be passionate about. And so if I'm not passionate about at least that, then I need to check myself and say, have I experienced him? Because I think he was pretty passionate about his father, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
And about the people around him, to be sure they were healed and they were taught the truth.
Glory. That's good stuff right there, buddy.
And I can participate in that, can't I, Eric?
I can almost hear the
I can participate in
playing.
that. That's not watch other people, but participate in that. I
Yeah.
can participate in that.
Yeah,
That's
you
what I
can.
love about it.
Yeah.
I can participate in that.
Well, you see those people that like have just had an experience with Christ, and like you want them to kind of rub off on you, and it's like, it don't work that way, bro. You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
when you always hear these older saints say, "Man, he just came to Christ. I kind of liked him to be around me." You know what I mean? Because it's like sometimes I think we forget, and that's why you have to constantly be experiencing him, constantly taste and see, because you can't just live off that, like, you can't just live off that July 31st,
July.
you know?
I hear some people who are in the kingdom who almost give the impression that I love God, but I can't stand people. And I'm saying, if you're going to be in the kingdom, you don't get that choice.
No, sir.
You don't have that choice. You're to be passionate about loving other people too.
Not an option.
Not an option in the kingdom.
For Steve, Chris behind the cameras, my name's Eric. We'll see you next time.